30 seconds, then you got 20 seconds more. Come on, come on. My dog is ready.
That's a good.
Hey.
All right, so we're live. Happy Friday, and welcome to the Akash monthly update. Right. I work for a state, also it's a validator in Akash network. I'm also an Akash insider, and I'm so happy to conversation today with our special guest, the one and only Overclock Labs. No, CEO of Overclock Labs, right, and founder of Greg Osuri. How you doing, Greg?
Fantastic. Amazing to be here. My first comprehensive live stream of the year. So
Amazing.
Zach was proposing a recording. I was like, nah, we got to do this live. Only way I'm going to record it is live. So
I'm honored, man, and I'm happy to have this conversation with you. I have a bunch of stuff, so I'm hope you're ready, right?
always ready.
And well, before we jump to the topics, man, I saw a tweet about this Builders Stack article about Akash. And let me tell you, I read it, and for me, it was the review I've read in my life. I mean, it was super short, almost everything about Akash. So, in case somebody hasn't checked it out,
I know. I loved it. I mean, it's done by Fleek. Fleek is
mhm,
known for their developer experience. I think the DevRel person, Abru, her name is. She wrote this article. I loved it on my first read as well. I agree, and we're super excited for Fleek integration because Akash being open source and being a general purpose platform, we haven't verticalized the user experience. And what that means is, in order to make something simple, you have to, you know, hide features or not highlight certain features, right? So you gotta like limit the capabilities in order to make something usable. So a challenge with Akash has been like, what kind of compromises we need to make, what kind of trade-offs we need to make to deliver the user experience, and so we can't make trade-offs because we're a general purpose platform. So someone like Fleek, uh, doing the trade-offs on behalf of the user that understands their users really well is going to significantly improve user experience in Akash. So instead of the, you know, Overclock Labs core team building a user interface, which we do have certain things we're working on, but I think someone like Fleek, which is the most widely used Web3 PaaS, integrating Akash is incredible news, and them talking about it is amazing. Highly recommend you go check it out. I think they'll soon have a functioning product on top of Akash, so you're gonna see a nice, amazing tooling. I'm looking forward to using Fleek myself.
now let's go over Akash. Live stream of the year. I can't believe we're 2 months past. Can you walk me through maybe Akash biggest these first 2 months of the year?
A lot. I mean, this was perhaps my best opening of any year. Me personally, my personal health, Akash, as a protocol, Overclock Labs as a company, right? We've done amazing milestones. I think we hit like 5 major milestones, at least I can think about, in the first 2 months of 2023. We're classified like in four different categories on you know, economics, usability, capabilities, and distribution. We began the year with a radically open initiative. So essentially, what that means is, um, you know, Akash network has been open source since the beginning. The source code has been open sourced, but the process that produces the source code has been primarily opaque in the sense Overclock Labs team would go talk to different potential users and would come up with the roadmap and publish the roadmap, take some community feedback, but essentially the work was completely done inside the company. That wasn't very transparent because it's the nature of a corporation, right? And so that is great. We moved fast. We launched a lot of incredible features in the last 1 year of launch. We added persistent storage, we added IP addresses, we added quite a lot of capabilities to the network itself, right? But what we didn't achieve is true decentralization in the sense from a evolutionary standpoint. So that means if you remove Overclock Labs as a company, you know, Akash development would have been hindered, right? Because there's no one actively funding and developing it. And we thought we need to fix that. And number one, number two, we have an incredible community. We have about 230 contributors to Akash Network. For context, Overclock Labs, the company that built Akash, only employs about 20 people. So 90% of contributors come from outside the company, and we were unable to tap into these resource set and really truly develop an open organization, right? To tap into this incredible talent that we have. Second factor, and third factor is we wanted people. So as Akash gets more serious and more adoption, and considered by bigger players as a potential, platform, uh, a lot of the bigger players we go to were asking us a lot of questions on like roadmap, and they wouldn't because they didn't get the answers themselves they could, right? So the opaqueness was creating some friction for them to be involved, right? Like, so the answer was very obvious: go radically open, in the sense the company that produces source code, the process of producing source code should be open. So we came up with ideas of community groups, as self-organizing community groups, different types of community groups. We call them special interest groups, to working
The
groups, to user groups, and each have different functions, each have different structures as to how what the mandate of these groups are. Some of the examples would be something like economics, which is a special interest group, where we proposed a new model. I'll get into that in a second here. And now there's a working group for the economics of to work on the proposal that we made initially. Right. So quite a lot of uh, you know self-organizing structures, and this is amazing, right? Like the amount of progress we made, all the other milestones came because of this foundational establishment of like open organization. So that led to several SIG meetings and whatnot. And every time we have the SIG meetings, we're very accountable because now we own up to a public commitment, right? So when we say we're going to give a proposal on a SIG meeting, we're going to give a proposal on a SIG meeting now because we committed to it publicly. So a thing we notice internally is all our team members have a new level of accountability now, not to me as a boss, not to their bosses, but to the public. Now, public is the boss because we all work for public, right?
as it should be,
Public
right?
utility, as it should be, right? And a lot of and a pattern we noticed was a lot of our employees, overclock employees, are now leaders, community leaders. So even engineers that used to be in a dark corner and writing code are now all of a sudden finding themselves to be in these SIGs leading the conversation and committing to public dates and public statements. So now they're on the hook to deliver, right? So it's incredible the kind of the change in culture we noticed by going radically open gave us a lot more accountability. And now there's no question about like when GPUs are coming. Like if you want to know when GPUs are coming, go to the SIG meeting, and you can talk directly to the developer, and if you're a developer that can help, you can push the code as well. So that changed the mode of like this. Before, because overclock was doing all the heavy lift, there was this entitlement from the community as well, like when what you should give a roadmap, and now there is more acceptance that Akash is an open system, an open project, and it's not entitlement but responsibility that lies on all of us. And the questions are there. The answers to the questions are all public. All the meeting recordings, every meeting is recorded and posted on Arweave, amazing tool for permanency. So we can't delete the video even if you want to, right? So all that is in public record. It's all on immutable, data stores, and uh, and we started getting amazing contributions like David Shea. David Shea, started helping us with economics. For those of you that don't know David, he is the Stanford professor who helped Ethereum move from proof of work to proof of stake. He is considered in the circles as a security expert, consensus expert. He works with Vitalik and whatnot, and a person of his nature and stature, helping Akash design economics is just one tip of the iceberg as to what kind of commitments we see. You're going to see a lot more of such involvement, and all this is public, right? You can go look at our videos, and you can actually hear him say his thoughts on what Akash is and how they plan on what his proposal essentially lets Akash borrow security from Bitcoin. That way, we don't need to allocate that many tokens for security, but rather actually borrow something from a better security, from a proof of work model, right? So there's a lot of incredible innovations that are happening because of our public nature. So that's number one milestone. We open public.
Awesome, man. Thank you for that. Thank you for covering that, Greg. And let me do a quick pause
Yeah.
and talk about the SIG groups, the special interest groups.
Since
Uh,
yeah,
I've been able to participate in a few calls, and it's exactly like you say. The developer is there, the lead of the call is there. They are saying like, "Hey, we have this plan, we have done this last week. Does anybody has a question? Does anybody has a suggestion?" And you see people getting involved. You see community members getting involved, and I believe this move you made, you call it like a radical move, right? Yes, it was a radical move, but I believe it was a move in the right direction, in my honest opinion. So besides that, what are other progresses that you can share after these first few months of the year, Greg?
I call it a radically decentralized. What that means is so from a decentralization standpoint, right? Like if you really ask the question what decentralization is, I mean, everybody has their own answers, but according to me, it's really about removing the risk of a system failure, removing systemic failure risk. Right. What that means is, so today you have centralized systems like Amazon's and Google's of the world. If the company collapses, the product dies, right? No matter how important it is to you or to the society, it doesn't matter. If the company dies, the product dies.
That's
And
right.
we saw what that happens. So it's very, very high risk of failure. And then you have something like protocols like TCP/IP or HTTP. There's no single company that controls this, right? There's no single entity that could fail, that could take down, or still will have HTTP or TCP. These are protocols. That's why protocols are important for permanency. Now, are all protocols same? No. How are they different based on the decentralization nature? That means, what are different attack vectors that could take down a protocol? Um, and in the answers you'll find if you peel enough layers of decentralization. So decentralization, if you consider it to be an onion, if you peel enough layers, you'll see where the defects are. First and most obvious decentralization is consensus. Like, so you look at, well, Akash or Cosmos app chains, for example, are secured by validators. You could say like if all validators, shut down, the chain goes down, right? The data doesn't get corrupted, but chain goes down. So arguably, you could say like, well, if all the validators take down, there will be new validators that will come up, and delegators will figure out how to redelegate their tokens because if they care about the chain, they will. So we don't have issues there. Second is then we have governance, right? So we look at, well, can the change now? I don't know. I have X amount of funds, $100 million secured. If like TVL, for example, right? I have a DeFi project, I have $100 million, and the chain is securing about if the the staked value of the chain is like less than $100 million, it's under risk, right? Because now you can say like
Correct.
someone can buy, all right, say the chain value is $90 million. Someone could buy $90 million worth of tokens, or like not actually like major 66% of $90 million, and make a governance proposal and make a vote to steal the $100 million, right? So that's second type, the governance attack vector. Well, you can say arguably that people are not going to sell, yada yada yada. So then you remove them. Third is like the company that builds this chain, right? So yeah, it could be open source, but it could be run by a bunch of validators. What if the company has a lot of influence on the chain itself? Can they do something bad, right? Arguably, so we see that quite a lot. We saw that with Terra, right? We saw that with the company had a lot of influence on the validators, even though the validators are decentralized. So there's that risk. If the company shuts down, the chain might go down, right? So, and fourth is like who actually evolves. Okay, chain is static right now. We don't not every chain has a level of adoption that the chain should get, right? Even the DeFi stuff doesn't have anywhere near the adoption that traditional finance has. So there needs to be constant updates that need to happen to the chain, right? All the way from security updates to just functionality updates for the chain to reach adoption. So if that stops, the chain will eventually die because there's no updates, right? So that's another big attack vector. So if you peel enough layers, you'll notice it comes down to the labs or the company that's building the chain, because once that stops, the chain will die. So we wanted to de-risk there, because if you can de-risk a chain making updates, we we won, right? So that involves, yeah, to begin the beginning of that would be radically transparent and radically open model where everybody's involved in building the chain and setting the roadmap. So these community groups are our first attempt to do. And second is how are these community being supported, these groups being supported in terms of finances? Like what is an incentive for someone to quit their job and work full time on Akash because they need to pay bills, right? So that's when the Akash 2.0 economics come into play. The proposal we made, again, this is all public, a proposal we made was to evolve the chain to a point where we can, number one, support the communities building the Akash network, uh, you know, and number two, support a much better user experience in terms of payments by introducing stable payments. Number three, strengthen the AKT's value proposition, basically value accrual. How does AKT value accrue? Because AKT being a consensus token is critical for providing the security for Akash network. Without AKT, there is no Akash network, right? You cannot run consensus and you cannot govern Akash network. So AKT is very integral to Akash network, and the value of AKT needs to gradually increase because the security should increase as Akash adoption grows, right?
Correct.
It's a function of adoption. So, so that means if you're introducing stable payments, we're expecting adoption to increase because that's a feature a lot of folks have been asking. So there should be some way to capture that value back to the AKT holders. So that's when we introduced a notion of tax in form of take fees and make fees. So if you think about compute as liquidity, providing liquidity, that means offering compute for service, which is providers pay a fee, and while someone takes the liquidity, that means a tenant taking the compute liquidity out of the market pays a fees as well. And the fees is determined by the token of choice. If they use Akash, obviously, Akash holders wouldn't want to charge people for using Akash, so I would imagine Akash holders will vote down the fees to be very, very little or nothing. Whereas you're using something like USDC, I would anticipate Akash users to want to take money from USDC from Ethereum, right? So we anticipate the take rate to be much higher for that. Or if you're using something like IST, which is Agoric's interchain security token, maybe there are validators that are validating across Agoric and Akash. Maybe there's a cross pollination between these communities where the holders of IST would want a lower take fee, holders of IST and AKT would want a lower take fee, and they will vote on it, on how much the fee should be. So it's a completely governed fee model. And that fee will essentially use to accrue AKT value and whatnot. And we also introduced the notion of a public goods fund or public goods pool. We're calling it PGP. This is to fund the public goods on Akash. That means improving Akash network, open source tooling around Akash network. They're significantly larger than the community pool. And then we have provider incentives. Now, a big challenge with Akash network is because Akash is mostly optimized for data centers that have unused capacity. So we the kind of compute providers put on Akash is anything, right? So whatever they have unused, they put it. But more often than not, there is a huge mismatch from what the providers provide and what the tenants want, right? Especially as we're getting up to like GPUs and whatnot. A lot of the tenants would want something like A100s, which is high-end GPUs, where a lot of providers, like especially Ethereum miners, are going to give out like 4090s, right? Something that may or may not match their actual need. So we want to be able to incentivize the right type of supply to match the right type of demand, right? So we want like all the demand to be fulfilled. So that's where we had to incentivize initially to till we get to a critical mass, uh, from where the product will take off. Right? So the provide incentives will be used to incentivize high-end GPUs like A100s, H100s. We're anticipating from our estimations that an A100 will cost you somewhere around 50 cents. Compare that to a traditional cloud offering, which is about $4 an hour. So it's literally 50 cents to $4. It's a huge gain. If you ask any AI dev and offer them A100s for 50 cents, they will kidnap you because they will want it for themselves.
It
So
sounds like a good deal.
it's a very, very attractive offer. And what Akash, like GPUs are the fuel for AI. The complexity of GPUs, the need for GPUs is doubling every 3.5 months. As these models, LLM models especially, get more advanced, in the sense the amount of parameters they that are involved in training a GPT, a language model, it's literally like growing at an exponential rate. For example, uh, GPT 3. I mean, the GPT, I believe the GPT 3.5 is 175 billion parameters, and GPT 4 is going to be a trillion parameters. That means you need that much of compute. It's very, very expensive. Very expensive to run GPT, by yourself. So even OpenAI is charging for ChatGPT now for developer API access too. So I think they're asking for like $250,000 a year to have your own instance of ChatGPT. So it's not cheap, right? And a lot of the cost is GPUs. So if Akash is offering, I mean, I would say like 98% of the cost is GPUs essentially. So Akash is offering something that's so core to this, this AI revolution. And that brings to the third update, which is Akash AI, which
Yes, of
is,
course, we're going to cover
Akash
that.
obviously is leading us to create, this incredible, uh, you know, network of GPUs, high-end GPUs, right? Not just unused GPUs. That's very, very important. Okay, how do we deliver these high-end GPUs? Like, do we just give a bunch of GPUs and expect people to build Docker containers and build, SDL files, all this advanced stuff people need to do to use Akash? No, we're going to simplify the hell out of it. We're going to make it so easy for developers to access Akash AI. It's not going to be like the approach is very different from what we have taken so far traditionally. We have taken a very no hands-on, no UI approach, and we have amazing UIs being built. CloudMoss and Fleek and Praetor and Spiron, all these incredible UIs on top of Akash are being built. I mean, amazing experimentation. But with AI, we are verticalizing. We are building the UI ourselves because the speed at which the AI landscape is changing and evolving is so rapid. If we don't move rapidly to capture this market, we may lose out. I mean, there's no one yet competing with us on the GPU prices, but when we launch GPUs, we want to deliver something that AI devs can use with the least amount of friction, right? And I personally have been involved in a lot of on the ground dev role. You see me going to hackathons, you see me going to meetups, see me giving a lot of talks, especially in the AI realm. And a lot of what I'm doing at these events is gathering feedback, showing developers the product, having them use it or play around with it very, very early, and giving me feedback instantly, right, as to what they think of the product, what friction points, and we're iterating very, very, very rapidly. So Akash AI is an attempt to verticalize Akash for AI That's why it's a separate brand. It's not part of the Akash core protocol. It's a vertical on top of Akash core protocol.
Okay.
They'll address for several friction points for AI developers and offer GPUs at a price point that's never been seen before. And what the exact interface is, we've been tweeting out a little bit here and there. The last tweet from Akash AI, you see 3 lines of getting stable diffusion working for you, which is very, very fast and very, very good from a user experience. If you ask an AI dev, they'll tell you how amazing that is for them. So that's just one tip of the iceberg. And what the end product is going to be, I think that we're going to keep that as a surprise. But to throw some beans as to where we are going and how we're going about building the product, you get an idea, a good sense of like what Akash AI is going to be. It is going to be the best AI developer product, and that's the goal. It's not about um, non-custodial nature. It's not about crypto. It's not about uh, you know not about a lot of these properties of crypto. It's about building the best developer experience for AI developers. Because unless we AI developers are not going to use Akash because it's decentralized. AI developers are going to use Akash because they get cheap GPUs and good developer experience, right? So
Because
really,
it works, right?
it works. I mean, it has to work, but I think
It has
beyond
to
just
work, right?
beyond just working, I think it has to deliver in terms of user experience. Like why that's very important is a lot of the AI devs are hyper focused on user experience. We use any of the AI products like ChatGPT, for example, had
Hmm.
5 million users in the I'm sorry 1 million users in the first 5 days and 100 million users in the first 30 days. 100 million users, right?
Crazy,
Unheard of.
right?
Why? Because the user experience is incredible. I mean, it doesn't look good, but in order to use it, right,
It's very straightforward, in my opinion. Yeah.
and a lot of the AI products are. A lot of the devs are not very open to like using subpar user experience. Like I try to onboard people on to use Akash using CloudMoss at a AI hackathon. First, I asked them to go set up a wallet. They're like, "What is a wallet?" I'm like, "Well, this is this cryptographically secure thing." Like, well, how do I do that? Well, go get Kepler. I'm like, they freak out when they have to use a browser extension. Nobody outside crypto really likes browser extensions, right? It's a weird thing. You don't ask people to, they're like, why do we need an extension? Why can't we just like go to a website and pay and get this token? I'm like, don't ask me questions I don't have answers to.
That's a tough.
And when I asked them, oh, so they're like, oh, so tokens, that means Akash uses a blockchain. I'm like, yeah. And then they're like, isn't Bitcoin bad for environment? I'm like, well, there's a whole conversation about what blockchain and crypto is. So the amount of friction that's involved in explaining someone how to use Akash versus me giving you 3 lines of code to use Akash is radically different. When I write those 3 lines of JavaScript code and be like, this is how you use Akash, and I'm like, oh, I get it. And if you want more advanced features, then go do the other hard work because you need to see the value of Akash as soon as possible, right? Within like 1 line, 2 lines of code, instead of setting up a wallet, going to Kraken, giving your mother's birth certificate to complete the KYC and wait for 5 days to connect your bank account and transfer your funds. By the time you do that, you already forgot what Akash is. So we are
That's
shooting ourselves in the foot. We gotta deliver the user experience AI devs want, and Akash AI is going to deliver that. There's no compromise. We're going to start with user experience first. Uh, Super bullish on it. You can see why I'm so excited on like all these new things that I develop, and we give it out, and we're not doing it in the dark, right? We're doing it in the open, right? And it's very very
Mhm.
important. So you're going to see a lot of times you see me put a lot of updates on Akash AI because I want users to give me that instant feedback and take it from there. It's incredible way to do it.
Greg, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Greg, but when can we expect like another update in regards to Akash AI?
I don't want to spoil ruin the fun. You're going to see a lot of updates every week. You're going to see something that pop out about Akash AI. I don't know what I can't tell you what the next update is going to look like, but it's very exciting. I think what I can say within a month we're going to have a big update for Akash AI, or maybe a month.
All right, I'm looking forward to that, Greg. And let me do a quick pause here. Something I want to say about Akash is Uh, I love the fact that it's different in the sense that most of the projects you see out there, the majority are like DeFi and DEXs. And Akash excites me so much because it's like infra, cloud, AI, and yeah, it excites me. So I wanna talk about the economics, the Akash tokenomics update. I don't know. Well, everything is public. It's in the GitHub, so I guess you can say pretty much everything that is on the GitHub. But maybe can you share the biggest takeaways of the new AKT update?
Yeah, like I said before, I mean, it's the big update is introduction of stable payments, introduction of public goods funding, take and make fees, accrual value accrual for AKT tokens. There is a burning mechanism that is eventually burns a portion of Akash tokens that are not distributed to either to the developer funds or to or the public goods fund. I'm sorry, or to the provider incentives or to the you know or to the stakers. Right, stakers will still get a healthy API. Right, so a big update is yeah, there is a new way to value accrued AKT. Stakers obviously get a take income, a dividend from the, uh, you know, from the
The
staking.
revenue.
Yeah, from the revenue of the network, a percentage
Mhm.
share. That's a proposal. And how much percentage is set by the users? You know, it's not set by the token holders, so and it's not protocol determined, right? It's token holder voted through governance, and and that's determined by what currency is used to pay. Like if you're using Akash to pay for Akash workflows, I think it should be free. I mean, it's my opinion, but depending on what token holders think it should be. Let me know if my voice is not
That was a little loud.
clear. Okay, here. Okay, better now.
It's louder, super loud.
Um,
Yeah.
is super loud? Okay.
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 All right.
Awesome.
We're live, all right? Anything can happen. So,
Awesome. Yeah.
about the stable payments, Akash did a Spaces like a few months back. It was this application called Bixello, if I'm not mistaken. They were working on payments for Akash. Is that related to this, or this is some?
They were working on a a good question. They were working on a different mode of payment. They were working on a mode that enterprise companies would do like net 30, right? Pay after you use it because Akash, you got to prepay, right?
Okay.
They were not doing anything stable. I mean, of course, they were taking payments in stable currency and then converting to Akash tokens. But the update allows for users to pay with IST or USDC directly on Akash without interacting with Akash tokens, right? Like now, I think you still need AKT to pay for gas fees, but we're looking at various ways to improve user experience. Like, can we use USDC to pay using AKT gas fees or something like that, right? So, and at
Mhm.
some point, all these so go and read the detail update, but all these multi-currency, fees will go to a incentive distribution pool from where the non-AKT currencies will get converted into AKT through a market buy. So that means if the fees comes in USDC, portion of that goes to take income to distribute to token holders whatnot, and that gets converted into AKT. It'll go to osmosis and buy AKT from the USDC, right? The portion that gets distributed. If the portion that doesn't get distributed, will get burnt, right?
I'm assuming all this
So
happens in the background, right?
yeah, of course. I mean, all that
Do you
done by
imagine
developers
all the Kepler's windows when you're doing this?
No. There's no. It's not user driven. It's protocol driven. So it's going to be like over IBC, right? So all that happens, right? So user just pays using USDC and they forget about it. There's nothing else beyond it, right? All this happens in the background. Uh, so so the more usage there is, there's going to be more buying of AKT off market on osmosis. So I'm excited about that, right? So you can see if you're thinking about Chat GPT example where the OpenAI is proposing $250,000 per application per year fees to use Chat GPT, and
Wow, I
most
didn't
of them
know
use
that.
GPUs, right? That's what the proposal is. So you can imagine the amount of type, the number one, heavy competition there with stability, with a lot of other LLMs. And so all of them, 90% of the cost goes to GPU. So you can imagine the kind of usage we can anticipate for as a low cost GPU vendor, right? So all that is like market buying AKT at some point, right? To use these GPUs. So we're very excited about the stake model. It's going to strengthen the Akash ecosystem significantly.
It's exciting time for sure. I've been working. Well, I've been an Akash insider for, and it's crazy the amount of development involved and all the updates that happen week after week. So I want to congratulate all the insiders that are working hard to make this happen. I also wanted to congratulate you, Greg, for seeing this together. This question might be a little off, but I personally want to know, how do you feel about this source movement from overclock stack to Akash? I mean, your little baby that you need to take care of it. Do you think, and how do you feel about that?
I mean, so right off the bat, right, it was a big relief, right, when we did open source, because we are like, now the responsibility is no longer on a single company, but on the community, right? So from the
Hmm.
corporate to the common, I call it. And a big relief because, you know, like I don't own people anything anymore, like in terms of updates, in terms of information distribution, because that's what I was doing before as the CEO of Overclock Labs. My responsibility was to distribute information that happens within Overclock Labs to outside Overclock Labs to Akash holders, right? So that goes away. And second, uh, overwhelming too. Now the relief goes away, but now we have enormous responsibility, a different kind of responsibility in terms of commitments, right? So now when we say what we're going to do, we got to do it. So we got to be very, 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 I mean, we got to do it in the sense like at that day, at that time, right? So every month we have these meetings, every SIG meets every month, right? So I'm very active in SIG clients and SIG economics, and I have commitments that I made. I have to deliver every meeting because if I don't deliver, that sets a different stage for the community not to deliver. So the risk of non-delivery here means you're going to break up the community because community will be like, hey, these guys are not doing anything, right? So enormous pressure on top of lifting this responsibility. But the good thing about this pressure is more directed. It's not like I have to do a million things. It's only one or two things that I commit to. I have to, no matter what, do it. So it's more focused. That's much bigger relief. And to be honest with you, like if you're radically open, you have nothing to hide, you're a lot more free because a lot of the anxiety comes, really, at least for me, is how to distribute information. Like be it investors, be it customers, be it employees, be it community members, whatever. A big challenge is how do I communicate, how do I tailor the message in a way that can be acceptable for each group. Now I don't have the burden, right? So that means um, like our investors that are want to invest in Akash have all the tools and only time, as long as they have the time to do due diligence, I can go and look at every meeting that happened, look at every person that is involved. So you have ultimate due diligence tools, right? It's only time, like how much ever time you want to spend. As an investor, I would love that, right? I love transparency. I love openness because I want to know what the hell is going on with the project I put money in, right? Um, so, and I don't want as CEO or team members for an update. I want to be able to go be my own judge. I want to be very sovereign as a sovereign individual, right? So that's incredible, right? So, and also like our website now is fully open source. So if you see any mistakes, you can actually click on the website and click edit on the bottom and send a pull request. which wasn't possible before. I mean, you could say, before the website was not open source, right? So, website is the ultimate like information distribution channel, and that is fully managed by the public, right? So I feel very very fortunate to be able to be in a position to see something like this come to fruition because this open organization is only a dream for a lot of companies. You know, a lot of companies want to be here but can't be. Even in crypto, right? Like a lot of times, even every time I hear labs, right? That means that's completely opaque, right? Like, um, and the labs are never very you know transparent. And I'm afraid a lot of the crypto is moving towards this like opaque model. And we see that with, you know, we see that with,
There
I
are a
won't
few
say names, but
examples, right?
there are examples like, a popular one would be, again, uh, I have deep respect for the ecosystem. I'm not, it's not a discussion about decentralization or not, but I do have a little concerns with Polygon sometimes. Incredible team. I mean, their BD is probably the world-class BD. I've never seen a BD team that effective. Polygon Studios, especially. Uh, and I'm afraid when these studios, the more success they have, more power they accrue, right? That's the nature of the beast. So there is a chance the studio, will go so big that they determine the protocol completely, right? It'll be coming from the studio what the protocol should do. And that's just the nature of the business. The more value a business generates, the more power they have. And so while the protocol Polygon's team is making an amazing effort when it comes to adoption and whatnot, I think there's a heavy risk now uh, that it may lose its decentralization nature uh, because the requirements and the direction will be coming from the studios more often than not. And if that model is going to be exported for the rest of the ecosystem, crypto ecosystem, which most likely it looks like it is, then we're in big trouble because now you'll have centralized entities like these labs and the studios and all these companies that direct, that direct the future of a certain
The
chain.
development.
And if the information, yeah, so it's bad. So yeah, so I think this is a dream come true. I mean, if we can do this, and we got to be very very committed to an open model, which we are. And if we pull this off, we want Cosmos to be different. Like Cosmos has always been different. We're not like any other ecosystem. We do things that are original. We are pioneers in a lot of
100%.
ways, right? So I love the fact that a Cosmos project, Akash being the first Cosmos, first IBC chain, we are innovating. We innovated with Cosmos, innovated with IBC. We're innovating now with organization structures, coordination structures. So I am extremely excited to be able to export this model. Of course, we're going to learn a lot over the next few months and years. I mean, we're going to this is famous saying in Silicon Valley that says, "Make better mistakes tomorrow," which is very true because we'll make better mistakes tomorrow with organizations now. Going radically open, are we shooting ourselves in the foot? Maybe, because
We're
we
gonna
had to
find
be
out.
we had to be completely public about it. But are we doing the right thing? Absolutely, right? Is it going to be harder? Absolutely. And the other saying that says, well, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So we are definitely shooting to go far here, not fast, right? So yeah, yeah.
100%. Well, Greg, thank you so much for that answer. I love it, and I also feel excited about Akash future. Can you share maybe what's like the next in pipeline for you? Well, not for you, for Akash, right?
What's in the pipeline?
Yeah, for the next, what are some major milestones you wanna achieve?
I mean, the major milestone I think the next 45 days is going to be Akash AI, right? Like Akash AI and along with GPUs. AI
You say
in
45 days.
the next 45, yeah, just coming to a time, sure.
All right, all right.
Okay.
That's a time
There's going to
commitment
be a
right
major
there.
Akash AI announcement in the next 45 days. And we have economics coming up. I would assume the next next 90 days, we're looking at economics. GPUs are coming very, very quick. I mean, I don't know if you had a chance to review the SIG steering committee yesterday. There was an update on
The
GPUs.
steering committee yesterday? Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the update on GPUs is it's going to have testnet very, very soon, like within weeks now. The code is all public, I suppose. Check it out. And I'm also going to post um, a link in the chat, link to the projects list. I posted on the YouTube chat. That's the those are different projects that we have going on, so you can clearly see what's happening with what project. And of course, projects like GPU support and whatnot are, you can see the spec, you can see a lot of details as to how this is being done. So these are different projects that we have going on. I mean, you could consider this the roadmap, right? These are, I think, also prioritized really well in terms of what's coming when. And yeah, so next few months, big updates are economics implementation and GPU implementation and Akash AI. And Akash AI, I think, is the most exciting. And also, you got to remember, China is going to have its Chat GPT moment. Like, you remember when Chat GPT came out, right? People are going crazy. I mean, obviously, 1 million users in the first 5 days means there's enormous amount of interest and usage. Uh, Chat GPT doesn't work in China yet because it doesn't work in Chinese or Mandarin or So, and number two, there is like export control to China, so they have their own chips for GPUs. So they're going to have their own Chat GPT moment in the next 3 months. They're very, very close. Baidu released a paper, and China also relaxed cryptocurrency rules, especially for Hong Kong. So Hong Kong legalized crypto from this June onwards. So you can see as we get closer to this legalization date, they're going to realize the power of AI, and they're going to be. It's my prediction now. I think AI is going to have its Web3 moment very, very soon. And when you talk about max bidding, I hate to use the word, but I think Chinese level of max bidding is way different from American level of max bidding. So I think overall, there's a lot of really good things to expect. Uh, uh, you know, and we're also getting pretty good press by very respectable analysts like Data Center Knowledge, for example, wrote amazing piece on Akash. These are highly reputable analysts writing heavy technical items for industry publications. So you can expect a lot of coverage with AI, and fortunately, we're able to, you know, capture a lot of the narrative now. Um, so so yeah, I think overall, um, we have the AI narrative that's getting very strong, along with a lot of product updates we'll be releasing very quickly. And we have China opening up, we have Chinese Chat GPT that's happening. Then we have economic update. With economic, we anticipate at least, to give you an idea, we have about, so far, we're doing like a lot of inventory for GPUs. So far, we were able to account up to 900,000 GPUs that could potentially come on Akash that were all left from Ethereum merge. So when Ethereum merged from proof of work to proof of stake, it
Mm-hmm.
made GPU mining obsolete, right? Because you no longer have proof of work mining.
That's right.
So there are about, in our inventory alone, about 900,000 GPUs that are waiting to come online. Of course, we're not going to bring them online. At the same time, we're going to be at least, I would anticipate a more phased rollout for providers. But the question is, what do you do with all those GPUs on the market, right? Um, so there's a lot of like in the next year, I think all the supply is going to come out in this whole year in 2023. All the supply will be online, and we'll have Akash AI as a beautiful product to deliver this value to AI devs, and AI is going to explode in terms of usage with Chat GPT-4 coming, GPT-4 sorry coming with a trillion parameters. That's no, that's very, very close to um, what intelligence should look like. So it's a lot of things to expect in the AI realm, and Akash being the Web3 AI forefront, right? It's going to be super, super fun.
Awesome. Great. We're almost closing this out, but I wanted to ask you real quickly, since you mentioned these 900,000 GPUs, right? Is somebody from Akash trying to reach out to these miners, or did they come to Akash and told you, hey, we have this available for you? Is there
So
any plan
overclock,
to attract those people?
yeah, overclock has a very active BDT, right? So we're, I mean, we've been. It's not something we came up GPUs, AI, all this. It's not something we decided to do it yesterday. I mean, this has been in the works for years. We've been working on GPUs. I
Hmm.
mean, it's not a secret, right? Like, if you Google GPU Akash, you'll see 2019, 2018 even, right? So we've been like working with a lot of GPU, both providers as well as tenants for GPUs for a long time. And it's very hard to do a general purpose GPUs on Kubernetes. It's not there. We had to write a lot of upstream code for that to happen. Anyway, so throughout the years, we had enormous business development activities. We were able to secure the top two of the top five data center providers, Ethereum, that were doing Ethereum mining before. Some of these companies are actually public companies, publicly traded companies, so these are not small companies, right? So these are professional data center operations that are there. So that is our first sense of supply. And second is we have quite a lot of operating systems. Don't want to be specific about which ones, but a lot of miners, proof of work miners, use operating systems to mine, right? And by embedding directly into the operating systems gives us an incredible distribution channel because every time someone uses the operating system, they have Akash enabled. It's like using a ledger, right? You have Akash enabled automatically. So Akash giving them an alternative revenue stream that is essentially an offshoot from what they're used to with Ethereum mining is a great way for them to recoup the costs, right? So the level of distribution we're talking about with the operating systems is incredible. It's like, yeah, maybe even millions of GPUs, right?
Huge.
So far, we were able to account for 900,000. So there are a lot more than what we could account for.
Awesome.
So I mean, um, now the challenge will be like really because we have it's like going to like a massive supermarket and not knowing how to navigate the market, right? Like that's where we go. That's the problem we're going to be facing. So that's why I'm very very uh, uh, you know very focused on ensuring we can build a developer experience that developers can use to consume this a million GPUs. Like, just not throwing a bunch of GPUs at people like, do what you want with it. Let's figure out how to really deliver. How do you give this GPUs in a way? It's like having an atom bomb, but also we need to deliver the delivery mechanism for the atom bomb. Like, is it going to be like over an airplane? It's going to be Enola Gray. It's going to be over a ballistic missile. It's going to be in a submarine, right? It doesn't matter if you just did an atomic test. You still need a delivery mechanism to deliver that. You can't just give a bunch of uranium and expect that to work, right? Like, so what we have is uranium. Now we need to build, or what we have is like probably a uranium. Now we need to build a bomb around it and a delivery mechanism. Terrible analogy, but I think you get the point.
Of
Um,
course, of course.
uh,
Hell of an analogy. Now, Greg, you mentioned like navigating the crypto market, and I remember yesterday I tweeted about hosting this, which I feel super honored. Sadly, we're reaching to the end, but you mentioned transparency earlier in our chat. It's something you look forward in a project. What are other fundamentals that you trying to find in a project before you invest your time and energy in it?
I'm biased. I want technical co-founders or founders. I think engineers, you know, for me, I really, I mean, sure, the projects are one thing, but I really invest in people, right? Like for me, it's very important that the leaders of the project are technical. If they're not technical, we risk, um, we risk founders losing hope
The
and
hype.
in the project, right? Because if you're technical, you can just code your way out of misery, right? If you're an engineer, you can code. So I almost never touch any project that's not technical leadership. I just can't. I don't trust business people because even though they may have good intention, they don't have the skills, right? Something like crypto or AI is very technical. Yeah, AI can be a lot more tolerant on domain, but I think you know the folks at the top should be hyper experts in this field, right? Uh, and I normally try to like pick when I invest. I normally try to pick people that are top five in a certain field. In the sense like, if you are a marketer, I'll invest non-technical people, but if you're a marketer, you should be the top five marketers I know. Like, I know really good marketers, so you should belong to the top five. Or if you're an engineer, you should be a top five engineer. I know a lot of engineers. So for me, it really comes down to investing in the best people. And second is uh, talent alone doesn't mean you're going to succeed. You need to have the hustle, right? In the sense you need to work, put those talents to use, right? So, and I see that it's easy if you're an engineer because I can look at your GitHub and be like, okay, you're actually working. If it's a little hard if you are a non-creative. If you're a marketer, I can see you write blog posts, I can see you tweet, I can see you working. For a BD guy, it's a little hard to gauge because a lot of BD activity is like closed and opaque, right? So that's why I tend not to invest in non-technical and non-creator type of people. I like creators, be it, you know, you can be a YouTube star, you can be whatever, but I need to see work, I need to see progress because I need to see your talent, I need to see your hustle for the talent. So
100%.
those two are important to me. And then the second thing, which is product and the market and all the other fundamentals come into play. But if the founders are not straight shooters, it's very hard for me to get involved in a project.
That makes sense to me, Greg. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, this question is going to be my last for the day in case you have any closing thought. But let's say, well, I'm not a developer, as you may know by now, but let's say a developer is watching this and they want to get involved in a cache. What would you say is the best way to get started? And I guess that's going to be the question to close this out.
Great question. Go to Akash, github.com/akashnet akash-network/community. Uh, the community page will give you an idea how to get involved with the project, be it a developer or non-developer. And but developers, there are like literally I just pasted the link called project list. Pick a project you want to work on. Right? There are so many amazing projects you can contribute to. Pick a project. The easiest would be console, which we have a web console for, and the harder one would be the node, actual Akash node itself. Right. So pick a project, and most of these projects have issues that are open. And if you click on them, you'll see something called good first issues, and you can find an issue to go fix. Start fixing issues if you want to get involved. And for things that are going to take longer, we have bounties. So bounties, that means you get paid to fix issues. So you should, there's so many ways to get involved. I mean, if you fix a bunch of issues, you'll get recognized in the community. And if you get recognized, the chance of you getting a bounty and getting funded is much higher.
Hmm.
So I highly recommend people to do work instead of expecting to get paid or like having expectations. And I want you to get involved because you love the project, not because you want to get paid. Money follows no matter what. If you have honest intent, right? Uh, or if you want a job, like okay, you need to pay bills and you need money. That's understandable. And just come to me if you're talented. I'll find a way for you to get paid and pay your bills, right? But I think getting involved in for a project should not be about money because that never is usually the case. Then it becomes a mundane job for you. Getting involved in a project should be about because you love the project and you have value alignment with the project and you feel like your contributions can actually help the project move, right? So if you feel like that, come to our community repo and there's so many things to do. And
Awesome.
follow, hit me up on Twitter, Greg Osuri, at Greg Osuri. I'm always online, always ready to
That's the
help you
user.
what you need to do. Yeah.
Awesome, Greg. Well, that's all I mean. Like I said, we cover pretty much everything in this hour. Very productive, if you ask me. I just hope this is valuable for the people listening in. Before I close this out, Greg, any final thought you want to share before we go?
No, stay excited. Get involved in Akash AI. If you're AI dev or a AI enthusiast, I'm looking for an intern. If you're interested, let me know. Uh, yeah, along with that, but community is open for you to get involved.
Awesome, awesome. Well, still with me. Thank you all for listening. For this monthly update on Akash Network. To connect with Akash.network, you're gonna find all the information you need. If you want to see the development of Akash, go to the GitHub. If you're with the community, join Discord and follow Akash on Twitter as well. My name is Del. For watching. Thank you, Greg, and hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Dalric. Appreciate it.
You got it.